Welcome back to the WorldSkills UK live online international skills summit, the very first event of its kind, and you are in on the ground floor. This is our final day of two, and we're down to our final session. And I have to apologise actually to Barry Skay, because when I went through the list of those people taking part in the next session, for some inexplicable reason, I missed off Barry, although Barry, you were on my list in 3 places in front of me, so all I can do is apologise. Barry is Head of Faculty Engineering and Automotive at New College in Lanarkshire. We're also going to be joined by Parisa Shirazi, who's Head of Skills Development and International Competitions at WorldSkills UK. We're going to be joined by Paul Joyce, who is FE Director of Ofsted, and David Gallagher, Chief Executive of the NCFE, and we're going to have a host for this session who is Julia Belgati, Head of FE at the TES. And if you have any questions you'd like to pose to the panel, please do. Don't be backwards in coming forwards. You can use the menu on the right hand side of your screen, just click Ask a Question and put your name and your job title so we know how to refer to you, and we'll ask as many questions as we can. And before we get into the next session, just to frame it for us, Dr. Neil Bentley Gockman OBE is still with us in the studio. And in a sense, again, this is absolutely key, and this is one of the things that you've been driving throughout these 2 days.
Exactly. I mean, this panel goes to the heart of the question around mainstreaming excellence. How do you do it? And so a lot of the guests on this panel are involved in our new initiative, a new project in partnership with NCFE called the UK WorldSkills UK Centre of Excellence. And that's about bringing back the know-how from our training to world-class standards and really embedding it in college practice and looking at how you drive up standards, teaching, training and assessment through the skills coaches who work with us to train young people. And also then from an Ofsted perspective, also on the panel, looking at what inspectors will look for in terms of when they're judging college performance, the use of competitions, the use of the competitions methodology and the training methods that we use, how they become embedded in curriculum innovation to drive up standards in colleges across the UK. So this is really going to the nub of that question around how do you really mainstream this? And hopefully I'm looking forward to hearing the insights that we get from the panel.
And when we talk about using international expertise, are we just talking about methodology, or are we saying, come over, let us hear from you and see from you what you do, and then we can learn that way? Does every country want to share that with us in that way?
Yes, they do. As I was saying earlier on the session with Australia and Chinese Taipei, yes, we want to bring experts from other countries into the UK to help us, and we'll be doing a lot of that virtually probably over the next year. We'll be doing lots of lesson learning from other countries. But what you'll see is from our skills coaches who train young people to a world-class standard, who are based in our education colleges and skills systems, who do go overseas to do some of the training, they bring insights back and they put those into practice in their own training. And it is as much about us doing that international pressure testing, going overseas, learning what we can, bringing it back, but also getting them to come to us and talk about how they do things and how their systems work. A little bit how Sanquai talked this morning from Chinese Taipei perspective, looking at their system and what can we learn from that. So it's both ways. And that's the collaborative nature of WorldSkills as a global movement.
And what is it that what is our area of expertise that we can export to other countries? What are they? Obviously, other than an international skills summit that is live and online, other than that, what is our area that they're saying, actually, come on, UK, let's hear from you?
Interestingly, one of the things that we're known for around the world is creative thinking and being creative and innovative, and particularly young people who are under pressure. In some of the Asian economies and some of the Asian members of WorldSkills, where a lot of training is done to the task, and it's kind of what we call rote training, that they are struggling with how to embed and mainstream the sort of creative thinking and dealing with pressure and understanding how to make sure that you cope with unexpected situations, which will come up in a skills competition, but more importantly, will come up in real life. And so we're seen as leading the way in thinking about and putting into practice how you train young people to deal with those unexpected things so they don't lose their nerve and stay focused on the task in hand. And so there's learning both ways that to be done. And that's again part of the platform we will be creating more of next year, embedding, deepening international partnerships so that we can learn from them and they can learn from us.
All right, well, let me introduce you at home. Obviously, you know our next host, but to our host of the next session. The next session is using international expertise to boost standards in technical education. And let's welcome Julia Belgati from TES. Afternoon to you, Julia. Welcome to the Live Online Skills International Skills Summit.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for that introduction. As has already been said, I'm the head of FE at TES, and I've been lucky enough now to attend and cover quite a range of skills competitions at national and international level, and I've profiled a lot of the work that both WorldSkills UK do and the individuals and institutions that we're going to be speaking to this afternoon. So I've been lucky enough to gain a real insight into the impact that these world standards can have once they're rolled out here. So I'm joined, as has already been mentioned, by David Gallo, NCFE, Parisa Shirali, the head of skills development and international competitions at WorldSkills UK, Barry Ski, who's the head of faculty for engineering and automotive at New College Lanarkshire, and Paul Joyce, deputy director of FE and skills at Ofsted. So in this session, we'll be talking about spreading that international standard over here, and specifically about WorldSkills UK's new Centre of Excellence project, which Neil has already mentioned. And the project will aim to give thousands of students access to world-class standards and learning. This is a 1.5 million project that was first announced in February, and WorldSkills UK has joined forces with awarding organisation NCFE for the initiative. The 20 institutions that will be involved in the first year were announced just in September there, and they include colleges from England, Wales, and Scotland. But overall, a quarter of FE colleges applied to be part of the scheme, and so in the first 3 years, a total of 160 colleges are said to benefit from it. So hopefully we'll hear a lot more about that. So David, maybe you can start us off, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about why you felt it was important to collaborate with WorldSkills UK on this pilot project.
Yeah, of course, Julia. So at NCFE about 18 months ago, we were doing some work on a new 5-year strategy. And in doing that work, we thought a lot about purpose. We thought a lot about some of the challenges and the opportunities in education, and where we felt things were working, where things needed to be improved. And in consulting really heavily with our people, consulting with a number of stakeholders, it was evident that there was a real deep desire for us to do more to support truly transformational learning experiences, to support all learners in tertiary and education to have the best possible experiences, get the best possible outcomes, and then the right progression, good progression opportunities. And we developed very high quality qualifications, assessment and content, but we as an awarding organisation and as an educational charity wanted to do more and felt we could and should do more. And one of the lines of thinking around that was that really high quality teaching and learning to a large extent sort of lives or dies by the quality of the educator, an educator's ability to enthuse, inspire, to teach really effectively. And I think we all know in this sector that tertiary education, and particularly technical and vocational, has been underinvested in for a long time now. I think the Augur report described us as the Cinderella of the education story. So we felt that we could and should do something to support educators more effectively. Around about that same time, the scope research was done, the Oxford University research in partnership with WorldSkills. And that was phenomenal because that really highlighted, I suppose, the recipe to create world-class educators. Very quickly off the back of that, I had a fantastic conversation with Dr. Neil Bentley-Gochman, and I suppose from there, the Centre of Excellence was born, really. The idea was there already from WorldSkills, so we can't take any credit for that. But we wanted to invest our resources essentially in trying to mainstream excellence for everybody within technical and vocational education.
And so what is NCFE doing now to support excellence in teaching, learning and assessment? And on this front, what are you actually doing on the ground?
Yeah, so I mean, through the Centre of Excellence, we've got an ambition, a shared ambition, that the Centre of Excellence in itself will raise standards of education within vocational and technical. We're really hopeful that through this and other key projects, that it's going to engage a future workforce, wanting to come into tertiary and technical and vocational education to teach. It'll excite and inspire people to want to work in the sector, and re-energise those that are already working in this space, who do an incredible job, quite often, particularly this year, in very difficult circumstances where they haven't necessarily had the reward and recognition that they absolutely deserve. I think our educators broadly need to be held in higher esteem in the UK, and then particularly for vocational and technical educators as well. I just don't think we've got that quite right. So through the Centre of Excellence, obviously that's a really key part. Raising the profile of educators, raising the perceived value, making sure they get the right reward and recognition. But in addition to that, I mean, we're very heavily involved in T-levels. I think people will know where we have got an exceptionally high set of quality qualifications that will come out through the T-levels. We're heavily involved in apprenticeships. We're developing much stronger and deeper relationships with employers, and particularly around future skills needs, so we can help the FE market to get ahead of that and be responsive and more agile. We're doing some incredibly interesting work around the future of assessment, where there are opportunities to shift assessments from being very standardised to them being more personalised, to make sure that they are more inclusive, they are more fair, and also to shift them away from transactional assessment that just simply conveys the outcome of an exam, to pass or a fail, to something that is much more transformational and gives both learners, educators, and institutions the information that they need to understand what's working, what needs to be improved, and what next, what happens next, whether that's a formative assessment, a high-stakes summative assessment, that those assessments are just much more transformational in their nature. And we're always looking for smarter ways to support our centres to deliver world-class teaching, learning and assessment. We're developing much stronger collaborative relationships with our centres and shifting away from just being, I suppose, the industry in some parts has been more product-led, where centres, deliver and we provide a product. We think because we've got the source code, if you like, of qualifications, of standards, we can help the education system, we can better equip them and support them to deliver truly transformational learning experiences for everybody. And really the ambition for us is to democratise access to the highest quality teaching and learning for everybody. Everybody deserves an opportunity for excellence, and this is why supporting WorldSkills in this way is so important to us.
Thank you very much. I'm sure we'll have many more questions for you in a little while. Parisa, if I can come to you next, you're obviously instrumental in rolling out this program. Can you tell me a little bit about how Centre of Excellence is actually going to work, what the main concepts are, and how it will operate sort of in practice?
Absolutely. Thanks, Julia. So the Centre of Excellence is designed to bring together NCFE's expertise in curriculum development and ours in global skills systems to mainstream excellence across education and training. And we're going to do this through several strands. Firstly, we'll be commissioning research to explore how other countries embed teaching excellence in their skill systems. Secondly, we're also going to be curating a library of resources for educators to inform on global best practice across a range of curriculum areas. We'll also be mobilising our team of high-performance skills coaches who will champion and influence change in standards and qualification development to incorporate much higher levels of technical competencies. And finally, we're going to be bringing together a community of over 350 educators in the UK through a CPD, which will draw on our methodology of developing excellence and also feature insights from UK and global experts to ultimately enthuse and inspire thousands of students and apprentices across the country.
So who is involved in this?
We're working with teaching staff across the UK. So we have currently mobilised 20 colleges who we're going to be working with. And as we progress over the next 3 years, we'll be fully onboarding 40 institutions in total. And the plan is for our team of high performance skills coaches to go out within those colleges to actually implement and mainstream excellence so that we can create a greater level of confidence and expertise in educators across the country, so they're able to really mobilise a much more meaningful and powerful learning environment that enables them to implement some of the practices that we adopt within our skills development programme as we prepare for the Skills Olympics.
And what are you hoping the impact will be of the Centre of Excellence programme after the 3-year pilot has concluded?
So what we've established is that through our engagement through the 3-year pilot, Julia, we'll be enabling 40,000 young people to achieve higher standards in their training and development, which will all be allowing them to achieve a much higher level of a competitive edge that employers are seeking. We also recognise that this will transform those outcomes of those young people, including those from disadvantaged backgrounds, to get them the best possible quality training available to them to set them up for life.
Excellent, thank you very much for that. Barry, if I can come to you next. You've been a training manager for quite a long time now, and I feel like I've interviewed you about this for at least a couple of decades. But can you tell me a little bit about your experience and what you have learned in the time that you have been involved?
Yeah, well, Julie, as you said, you've probably heard a little bit of the story that I'm probably going to tell. I'm going to take you back to 2007. It was the first time that I was actually introduced to WorldSkills. And at that point, I hadn't heard of WorldSkills at all. But when it was explained to me, what I realised was this could be beneficial to our students. So we worked hard to integrate and embed the WorldSkills standard that had been described to us into our daily class activity. The reason we did that was we wanted to make sure that we were impacting all of the students and not just those who would be involved in the competition. And by doing that, we actually saw a real benefit because the students were gaining high quality technical skills, and a reputation in industry to supply students into the industry, it snowballed basically. So we were year on year, we were seeing many employers, industry partners coming to us and saying, do you have more and more of these students that you're producing these high quality skills? And all of them were experiencing the WorldSkills standard. In 2013, I was then appointed the training manager for WorldSkills UK for Mechanical Engineering CAD. And I'm also the Deputy Chief Expert for Euroskills and the Chief Expert for WorldSkills for the same discipline. Now, the importance to that to me is that I get the chance to see the standards that have been set by the nations across the world in terms of these technical skills. I also get the chance to oversee the assessment standards that have been set. And one of the things that I think is really important for everybody to understand is the WorldSkills International Standard is very robust. Every 2 years, experts from across the world review these standards. We look at what's going on in industry, and we look to employ the new modern technologies that are now in place, that industry are using well at this point, into our competition to make sure that our competition is kept up to speed. But these standards are standards that we should be aspiring to within the UK, and we do pretty well. But what I do know is that over the years, there's been several countries who have joined. You know, the growth of WorldSkills International is exponential. I think the standard that's been set by countries who only joined maybe even two cycles ago, they're well up there in the leaderboard in terms of winning medals. So we need to make sure we are making adjustment to what we do in our own daily curriculum activity. But more importantly for me is what the students gain, competitors, apprentices, going through a WorldSkills process. The technical excellence for me is the bread and butter. That's what we're aiming for. High levels of accuracy produced at speed becomes very much the bread and butter of every single competitor and student who participate. But they're also resilient individuals, and they demonstrate a high degree of concentration. But something that's really, really important to me is the confidence that they gain from the whole process. And I'm going to take you into a slightly other part of the kind of journey and really talk about an individual. And for me, there's a real story and a real understanding of what WorldSkills can really do in this story. Back in 2015, we had a young female student, Betsy Crosby, joined us at the college, and she was a student who would sit in the back corner of the classroom. wouldn't interact with myself as a lecturer. When I say she wouldn't interact, it was more that she asked a question. If you got a muffled yes or no, you were doing really well. So her confidence levels were low. She was very withdrawn in terms of that. But she had a technical ability, and because all the students within the programme had the opportunity to work towards WorldSkills, because the first day they walk through the door at our college, they are told about WorldSkills. It's part of it's in our blood, basically. So every student is aware of WorldSkills. Every student that we can get the opportunity to participate. And Betsy took up that opportunity. And fortunately, in the first year, she managed to get through the regional competitions and make it to the national final. However, Betsy came last in that national final, and for her, that coming 10th out of 10 people was a disappointment. But what she didn't realise at that point in time was she was actually 10th in the UK, which was actually a great achievement. It took her a wee while to dig down and actually think about what she wanted to do next. But she came back onto the programme, she was studying the course, and she decided to go forward again the following year. This time, however, she's seen a greater success. She was second in the UK national final at the NEC. She missed out on the gold medal by 0.25 of a mark. And that was a massive achievement for Betsy. She was showing the technical ability that we saw in her, and that took her forward. But also, more than getting the silver medal at the national final, she became part of Squad UK, who were trained towards Gothenburg for WorldSkills and Abu Dhabi for WorldSkills. Betsy competed against her squad members, and during that process, she demonstrated a high level of skill. She demonstrated a high level of aptitude that basically she was then selected to go to WorldSkills in Gothenburg, where she was 4th place and gained a medallion of excellence. She then went on to WorldSkills in Abu Dhabi as well, and was 10th. She finished within the top 10 at WorldSkills in Abu Dhabi, and again a medallion of excellence. These were great technical achievements and a great demonstration of her growth. But for me, this wasn't her biggest achievement. And it's why I'm so proud of being part of WorldSkills UK. Is the next part is that Betsy was that young girl who sat in the back corner of the classroom. She struggled to answer simple questions. She had the answers, but she just really struggled to actually communicate them. But in 2018, she stood on the main stage with the Deputy Chief Exec, Ben Blackledge, and she talked about her journey in front of, this was the Apprenticeship Awards, in front of her peers, hundreds of people listening to Betsy's story. Now, for me, that was actually the biggest achievement. Since 2007 to now, I've seen students and competitors win medals, but for me to have Betsy on that stage, talking in front of all the people, that's the growth. That's what WorldSkills can do for young people. It's not just about the technical ability. It's not just about the technical skills. It is about that growth as an individual, and I think that's so important. As we go forward, is taking on not just the technical challenge, but what else we can give to these young people to make them very employable and desirable for industry for our future, basically, as a nation.
Very much, Barry. Just while I have you, can I ask what is the impact on the sort of wider student population in your college then? Because obviously the impact on Betsy is there for everyone to see. But is there a wider impact for other students at the college too?
Yes, I mean, as I say, now as a college, WorldSkills, I say, is in our blood. At New College Lancashire, we do so much across so many different disciplines. And we see a very similar story where we have curriculum areas that have embedded the WorldSkills standard and worked closely to WorldSkills standard. It's industry engagement that we are seeing where our successes lie. We're seeing more and more people coming back saying, you've got high quality students with high quality skills, you want to employ them. And one of our biggest challenges actually is keeping a hold of them until they get to the end of our programme. So that's probably the biggest impact that we see.
Thank you very much. Now, Paul, if I can come to you next, Paul Joyce from Ofsted, what are your thoughts on the Centre of Excellence programme?
Hi, Julia. The short summary from me, I think it's an outstanding initiative. It's a really exciting and valuable programme that I think should inspire more people to take up apprenticeships and technical education. A real excellent opportunity here for us to promote technical and vocational education as a real route to success and actually to raise the profile of technical and vocational education. WorldSkills, of course, is uniquely placed to contribute their expertise, as has just been said, really, to develop those high standards required to be successful in international competition, and actually to embed that into mainstream education and training programs, I think will be incredibly advantageous to the UK skills system, and indeed to FE and skills provision generally. So it's for me it's rightly an ambitious programme that is focused on developing the skills of staff and young people to improve the quality of teaching, learning and assessment, and make sure that young people are equipped with those skills that employers do actually need and want. So I mean, my summary, I think the programme is an excellent initiative that I really hope will boost the profile of technical education.
Thank you very much. And can you reflect a little bit on Ofsted's area and sort of recognising WorldSkills in Ofsted assessments, for example?
Sure, Julia. I mean, we already see the impact that WorldSkills competitions have when institution embeds the philosophy in terms of their curriculum and in terms of assessment. It generally makes a real difference to the student experience and to the quality and standards that we see. So our inspectors already recognise that, and we often report on that in some of the inspection reports that we publish. So competitions that we see organised and supported by WorldSkills, for example, where they are making a really good contribution to quality and standards within an institution, whether that's a college or a private training provider. That's often something that our inspectors will look at, will seek the end for, and when you speak to leaders, to curriculum managers, to teachers, and indeed to students, you can actually sense how that competition, that desire for excellence, is embedded into that curriculum. So it's far more than just wanting to pass a course, or far more than just wanting to demonstrate competence to achieve a certain aspect of a qualification. It is genuinely about being as good as you can be and embedding excellence through the curriculum, which obviously in turn promotes high standards, raises quality, and where we see that, it's an absolute pleasure to report in our report.
And do you think WorldSkills UK could work more closely with Ofsted and with colleges, higher standards in teaching, learning and assessment?
Well, Julia, I'm pleased you've asked that. Really, I've obviously I'm in regular contact with Neil and Ben, because we are an absolute supporter of WorldSkills and what WorldSkills ethos can do for education and training in this area. I've been very fortunate to already persuade Ben to come and talk to my inspectors about the work of WorldSkills, the impact that WorldSkills can have, and more broadly about the work of WorldSkills and the Centre of Excellence programme. And Ben has actually been kind enough to agree immediately to come along and do that with inspectors. So I do think there's further opportunity for us to support the work of WorldSkills, and I will certainly be talking to Neil and Ben as we go forward to see what other collaborative activity we could do to support WorldSkills, and indeed WorldSkills can do to support us.
Thank you very much. There are questions from the audience, so we'll go to those first. First of all, from Martin Maguire, obviously Scotland Director for WorldSkills UK. So how can we ensure that international standards are embedded in mainstream curriculum in the UK, given that we have different technical frameworks in the devolved nations? David, would you mind starting us off on that?
Yes, I can. It's a real challenge with skills being a devolved issue. The devolved countries do things differently. There are some similarities across some of the devolved nations, but there are key differences. Some level that is a real challenge for us. As an awarding organisation, we do span the nations. We work internationally in the same way that WorldSkills does, and we're trying to find ways in which that we can take best practice, bake it into standards, bake it into qualifications, and then provide support and services to build the capacity and the capability of the sector to deliver to that standard. And of course, that's not our job alone. There's lots of organisations that occupy that space, WorldSkills, obviously, and others. But there is a real challenge around driving that consistency. But I do also think there are different ways in which excellence can be achieved. And, just like every person is different in terms of their starting point, potential is a very personal thing. I don't necessarily think we need a one-size-fits-all. Sometimes within the technical and vocational education system, we try to oversimplify and use reductive arguments around maybe, a German system. Well, this is the UK system, and there's lots of things that are great about it that we should hold on to. There are lots of things that we can learn and we can infuse into our system. But to my mind, it should be our system that we look to build excellence into. And there are different ways in which you can do that. I think consistent standards of excellence can be really helpful, but then how we go about building qualifications, how we go about building teaching, learning and assessment, it can be more flexible to meet the needs of learners, meet the needs of employers, and meet the particular sort of nuance of different countries, different economies.
Thanks, David. Paul, maybe that's something that you could also comment on. What role can institutions like Ofsted play in this, in bringing this international standard into 4 devolved nations? Obviously, your responsibility doesn't count devolved nations, but can you help with that, do you think?
So, Julie, I think we can, and I think the framework that we currently inspect under, where inspectors are far more interested in how well students are developing knowledge, skills, and behaviours. I think we've already made great leaps forward in there. So, inspectors are really focused on what students can do and how well they can do it. So as David was saying, really, for us, we're already looking for far more than are students just passing a qualification or just achieving a framework. There's a huge difference between competence and excellence. And of course, it's essential students are competent. But actually, when you look at a curriculum and how well the teaching, learning and assessment is planned within that curriculum, again, there's a difference between just teaching students to become competent or embedding a culture of excellence through teaching, learning and assessment. So for us, it's a focus not just on qualifications and on the framework, but on the curriculum, the content of the curriculum, and how that embeds a culture of excellence. So I think we do help with that. We do help promote that. There's obviously more we can do, and we should focus on looking for excellence rather than just looking for competence.
And linked to that, Paul, is the next question, which is from David Vaughan, who said that I find the summit inspirational. How I come across are challenged and often measured on learner achievement, which in the main is driven by qualifications and also by inspections. Having been involved for a long time with international competition and study tours, I wonder how we can redefine real-time national standards and help tutors. Or what do you make of that, and what are your views on that?
Yeah, so I think it's a good point, because in many areas of education, we are used to measuring success by the achievement of qualifications, and that's not to say that qualifications aren't important, because of course they're important, but they have a place in the technical and vocational education field. So not to undermine their importance, but for students to be able to be really, really excellent at their particular vocational or technical specialism is also an extremely important aspect of their rounded educational training program. So anything that we can do to measure excellence, in other ways, in different ways, or to look at things differently, and of course that's why competition, and that's why WorldSkills competitions do actually matter, because it's more than competence. This is a real achievement when students participate in competitions, win competitions, or get placed, particularly in national and international competitions, because that's very powerful. So I think we need to do all we can and think about different ways of measuring excellence, other than spinning this on simple qualification outcomes themselves.
Thank you very much. The next question is for Barry. So Barry, how do you engage the wider college into the competition, and especially the students who may not have the confidence to come forward sort of initially?
Yeah, well, for me, as I say, over the years, I've engaged with the staff in our college from the day one, and I think that we started off with one competition, and now I'm pretty sure the last count we're looking at about 30 odd competitions that were run nationally that we had students participating in. For me, getting staff buy-in is really, really important, and with that, our particular college, we don't look at putting any real additional activity in place. For us, it's more about how we can mainstream it and make sure it is part of what we do on a daily basis. On the odd time, if we feel as if the students are needing a little bit of a step on, we would maybe put on an extra class here and there, but for the most part, it's trying to embed it as far as you possibly can. And by embedding it as far as you possibly can, you then impact all of the students. And I think that's really, really important. That's the fundamental part to this, is that if we tackle this in a way that this becomes an extracurricular activity, being involved in WorldSkills competitions, then it won't have the impact that you want it to make. You need to try and make sure it becomes a mainstream activity. And if I go back to the kind of the pre-question, for me, the qualifications that we were running, and if I take the one that I was particularly involved in, the actual qualification became the byproduct, because reality is that wasn't what we were bringing students on campus for. They signed up for a qualification, but it was more about getting ready to go out in the industry and do a really good job and be employable, and have industry come back and say we've done a really good job. So part of the measure potentially for going forward should be the feedback from industry partners who are giving you a rubber stamp to say, you know what, these people are coming out with the right skills, they're productive from day one, and they're actually making an impact on our industry.
And WorldSkills is obviously also quite visible in your college, isn't it? I've been to visit. There are posters, pictures of competitors and former winners everywhere. Is that quite important as well, do you think? I
think it's very, very important in the sense that it makes sure that everyone's aware of what has been achieved by our students. I think that really does. There's a level of pride that comes from that. But it's not just the students; it's the staff as well. The staff have put their time, their passion into really driving that agenda. And for us, it's about giving the students that additional experience and really stretch and challenge. The stretch and challenge is the bit that, for me, qualifications can become a limiting factor. That's that. I really do see that. Once it's written down on paper, if that qualification isn't updated on a regular basis, as the WorldSkills International Standard is updated every 2 years, then very quickly that becomes dated and out of date. And the reality is, to a certain extent, if you leave that for long enough, the staff members, who are really good staff members, but they almost become moulded to the qualification. That's wrong, and quicker and much more agile. And I genuinely believe that.
And do you think that the working with us is a way to do that and to be more agile?
Say that again, Julia, it broke up.
And you think that your work with WorldSkills is one of the ways in which you can do that, and your work with the new Centre of Excellence?
Yeah, I think through the support that the high performance skills coaches and WorldSkills UK can provide to the colleges who are involved, working with NCFE, I think we can do that. I think that it's really getting to the heart of what these colleges want to do, where they want to go, and what they want to do for their students and the opportunities that they want to provide for the students. The student experience ultimately is what we're involved in. That's for the apprentices, their journey, and really helping feed that into the economy to really give us a better future.
Thank you very much. Finally, Parisa, if I can ask you, so this Centre of Excellence program is already extending beyond the 20 colleges that were announced, isn't it? So you also have the UK Innovation Network, sorry. Can you tell me a little bit about that work? And also, if I'm a college and I sort of missed the boat on the first time round, is there anything that I can do now to be involved with the program? And basically, what do I need to do?
Absolutely. So we were really overwhelmed by the volume of responses from colleges who wanted to be involved in the Centre of Excellence in the summer of this year. What we've managed to do is to create an innovation network where we're bringing together the kind of excitement and the enthusiasm of senior leaders across education and training, and bringing together a community of what we're defining as our innovation network, where we're looking to use that as our platform to kind of disseminate some of the global best practice that will be kind of present within the Centre of Excellence, but also bring together a community of organisations, which I think is absolutely needed. Within that, we're also looking to go out recruitment again. So we open up our Centre of Excellence recruitment next spring. So those organisations who didn't make it through to this year will have the opportunity to apply again in the spring of next year.
Brilliant. There's a final question from Bob Watermore, who would like to know, I still feel ready to engage with providers and SMEs from the bottom up across the regions of the countries. So that WorldSkills selection and team is not disproportionately biased to large, well-known employers. We are a nation of SMEs where these world-level skills need to be applied in the world of work. So what are we doing to engage this more? Parisa, do you want to start us off? And David is already nodding, so maybe that's something that you could contribute as well.
So our plan is for next year. This year we kept our organisation count to colleges. Next year we're looking to open up to training providers across the country as well. So there'll be an opportunity for training centres, ITPs, to get involved in the work that we do within the Centre of Excellence. We recognise it's not just limited within the colleges, it also needs to be much broader for us to have the real impact that we're looking to have across the next 3 years.
David, what are your views on this?
So engaging with SMEs, engaging with specialist training organisations, whether that's a specialism in a college or a specialist in an independent, is of crucial importance. And of course, different agencies of government, so the Institute, for example, for Apprenticeships and Technical Education, they do a really good job in terms of engaging a broad range of employers, from the small to the large and everything in between. And if I take T-levels as a really good example, we baked very heavily into the recipe of designing the T-level engagement with SME employers. What it really does highlight, though, for me is one area where I think we've got a way to go within the system, which is about how do we create standards and programs and qualifications that are suitable for job roles that may have sort of skills permeability. There's a blurring of the lines between skills needs, particularly, as a result of Industry 4.0. How do we cater for multi-skilling for smaller employers, where quite often for people to be productive for a smaller business, they might need to be multi-skilled? And how do we equip particularly young people coming through for the fact that they may have a number of different careers over a lifetime? So this sort of very narrow focus on one occupation, we have to change the system to be more, to the point that was made, more agile, more responsive, more flexible, recognise that skills permeability, recognise that multi-skilling is really important. And then I think we're really starting to much more effectively meet the needs of SMEs. And I think we can learn a lot through engaging with specialist providers in the Centre of Excellence who absolutely do engage with SME employers. So I think that's a really, it's an important challenge that we grapple with over the lifetime of the Centre of Excellence. And of course, this isn't the silver bullet, this needs a whole systems response. So we're able to meet future skills needs for all types of businesses and for all types of learners.
Thank you very much. And thank you to the panel for their introductions and also for answering both my questions and those from the audience. Thank you to the audience for those questions. And I'll hand you back to our presenter for the final words.
Thank you very much indeed, Julie, and thank you also to the panel. And there were many occasions during that session, Neil, you were nodding and obviously agreeing with what was being said. A huge journey forward, but at least there's a clear destination that you are trying to reach.
Yes, and I think that the conversation we've just heard, and particularly through the Centre of Excellence in partnership with NCFE, is about WorldSkills UK really not just setting a new ambition, but bringing that ambition to life, working with our partners to really, what we've been really focused on over the past 2 days, that concept of mainstreaming excellence. And so just thank you to the panel, and thank you to David in particular for his partnership in the Centre of Excellence. But really, thank you to everybody who's been involved in, today and yesterday for joining us in this conversation, and for all of our partners who've been involved in contributing and bringing to life WorldSkills UK and WorldSkills and the impact of our work. Said we're setting out a new ambition to mainstream excellence and drive up standards in UK skills systems. And hopefully over the past 2 days, hearing from policymakers and college leaders and employers and our partners in the UK and around the world, you get a better sense of the potential and the opportunity that using WorldSkills methodologies and using our know-how and our training, how that can really start to benefit more young people and more teachers and more trainers, and ultimately employers and the economy in the UK as we face challenging times ahead. So I think there's huge amounts of potential for working with us and working with others for real mutual benefit for young people and the future of the country. So massive opportunity ahead, loads of work to do, lots of big discussions and opportunities and challenges coming out of the past couple of days, but a really exciting couple of days. I've been really energized and motivated by it, and thank you, Simon, for guiding us through it so well.
Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Neil Bentley-Gockman, OBE, and also, of course, CEO of WorldSkills UK. And that is it. That is the end of the very first WorldSkills UK live online international skills summit. It arrived out of necessity, but hopefully it's been something that you've enjoyed and have got the benefit from. And if you want more information about WorldSkills UK, you can contact the team and indeed find out more through the website, which is worldskillsuk.org. That's right?
Yep.
Just double checking that. That's the one piece of doubt that I had. The doubt that I don't have is to thank you at home, wherever you have been, for watching the last couple of days. And also many thanks to all of the panelists we've had who've given up their time and energy, not just in appearing, but also in preparing for this event. Can also thank the team at WorldSkills UK. We have Neil, Charlotte, Emma, Fabi and Dan, who've been key to delivering the last couple of days, and the technical team here, without whom this event simply would have fallen apart. And they include Grant, Rachel, Simon, Matt, Ray, Ben and Susie. Apologies if I've missed anybody out. 2 dates for your diary, and a third possibly that I can't tell you quite yet. The 2 dates for your diary: Shanghai in 2022 and Lyon in 2024. When will it be in the UK? That is something we may well be debating next time. From me, Simon Lederman, and all the team here, have a good rest of your day, and thank you for watching.